right, so I know viewers of this show will be shocked to learn that President Trump was in fact acquitted in the Senate. After months of buildup by the media that this would be a suspenseful outcome, that the walls are closing in. The next shoe that will drop is going to be the one that changes everything. And regardless of how you feel about this outcome, it was entirely predictable from the start. Is the bottom line.
This has got to be the biggest room ever because these walls have been covered.
It's huge. It's a stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Mitt Romney, of course. Actually, I was surprised. Frankly, I was wrong. I actually thought Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema might not vote for impeachment. But the more I think about it, it makes sense because I don't think people care. Everybody was like, oh, well, because I thought, maybe the vote it'll make some conservative voters. Aside from the hardcore Trump base, people do not care about impeachment. Ratings on the State of the Union were down 20% because of this. The Iowa turnout is down. To me, overall, civic engagement with politics is way down because of impeachment. Meanwhile, the president's approval rating is all the way up.
Well, and I think any Democrat that did vote with the president on this, that did vote to acquit, they would just kill the base, the energy behind them, the strong support. And it's not like they would win over any of the Trump people.
They're not going to win over any Trump voters. They're going to lose the Democratic Party establishment. There's not that much to gain. And so I was thinking about it, and I'm like, ultimately, it wasn't actually that high stakes of a vote. The only thing that did happen was Mitt Romney did vote to convict on Article 1, with the first article of impeachment about abuse of power. And it's amazing to me because Mitt Romney is a guy. First of all, what is a better symbol of the 2016 realignment? The 2012 GOP nominee votes to convict and remove from office the 2016 presidential nominee. And I was on conservative talk radio this morning, so caveat, I'm not to bring those talking points here. But it's incredible to me that Mitt Romney wants to become an icon to the very people who destroyed his candidacy and smeared him while he was running for president. And it was actually, I think about all the time, about the 2012 debate, with him and Barack Obama, when Candy Crowley injected herself into the thing for the live fact check. Yeah. And I'm always like, what would if Romney had just been, you're fake news? I think the whole thing would have changed. Probably. And the entire dynamic of it was that the Republican base basically saw you're never going to get a fair shot from these people. The entire establishment is against you. People like Mitt Romney, who are the Republican establishment, will bend over backwards to try and get Democrats and the media in order to love you. And that at the end of the day, you have no recourse. And I think this actually applies to all anti-establishment candidates. We've covered here. Why are Democrats embracing Jeff Flake and Mitt Romney? Yeah. Mitt Romney hasn't changed his positions on immigration, people, or on tax cuts. Right. Actually, by the way, he's actually much farther right than Trump on immigration. Nobody ever talks about it.
And on many issues.
I know.
On economics, he completely is.
It's amazing to me watching him become, like I said, he is going to be an icon to the very people who destroyed him. And that, to me, shows that he never really wanted to fight for any of the people who actually voted for him and put it all on the line back in 2012. And that makes me upset because it makes me see him for who he really is.
I think some of that is fair. I will say, though, that I do think this took courage. And look, I know he's not up for re-election for 4 years. I know he's a rich guy, so he doesn't have to.
That's my thing. He doesn't have
to do any of this.
He's going to be on Time magazine.
But you know how much heat you get when you are within the Republican Party and you dissent from the Trump consensus. Yeah. It does. And that's a human thing. I mean, just in the same way that, look, Tulsi had a lot more on the line.
Yes.
She's not a rich person, right? No one is going to put her on the magazine cover and lionize her. But it's a similar type of courage to go against the grain of what everybody around you is cheerleading for you to do, and to have to take that incoming. I mean, I'm sure the vitriol that's being directed at him, look, it's a small price to pay ultimately, but it is something. We know how that can affect you. So I do applaud him for his courage here. I think that it did take, fortitude and principle to put this vote out there. And so I feel differently about it than you do on this one.
Well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with his principles. Yeah. I don't. I think he's very principled. What I posit is maybe your principles are out of step with all the people who've tried to vote for you and back you up, and that you have harsher words for Donald Trump than you ever did for Barack Obama. Obama and his administration. And I think that is what makes it makes it so stark to me that I'm like, you put, at the time you were like, this is an existential threat to the country, blah, blah. And it's like, you had nicer things to say about Obama than you ever did about the Trump administration.
Well, and what I will say is that Democrats have fallen in love with these type of people, right? I mean, even Bloomberg is like very much, I mean, he and Mitt Romney are basically like the same people, right? And so Democrats, there's a wing of the party that has wanted to recenter the party basically around never Trump Republicans who do not share your values. I mean, they're outraged at the lack of civility. They're outraged at the breach of decorum and the norms and guardrails and all that stuff. That is not my fundamental outrage with Donald Trump, very much, as you know. But I do think that this was a principled stand. You may not share the principles, but I do think it was consistent with how he actually views politics, and his worldview.
It just makes. I mean, that's why I lost, and I don't feel bad for him. I don't think he actually has that much to lose. A couple people shouting at you. You got plenty of money in order to hire whatever
he will be fine.
that you need. He'll be just fine.
He will be fine.
He's got a lot of houses.
All right.
So.
Meanwhile.
Okay. Hunter Biden. So chapter 2 has begun in this. So by the way, Jerry Nadler is apparently talking about, we still need John Bolton to come testify.
Really?
So the Republicans are saying, so Chuck Grassley.
Another resistance here, John Bolton.
Chuck Grassley has basically asked the United States Secret Service for the travel documents all related to Hunter Biden on his trip to China, to Ukraine. We're going to find out more, of course, what came out from the impeachment trial about whenever a State Department official supposedly tried to warn Biden to his face, hey, your son shouldn't be sitting on the Ukrainian energy company board. So how did this all work out? Trump was acquitted. United States Senate has subpoena power. They've requested these documents from the Secret Service, so all of that is going to come out. It comes less relevant because Biden's campaign is completely imploding. But still there.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you.
It's still there. And look, I don't want to write Biden completely off yet. I don't think it looks good for him. But we don't yet know where his base of support, particularly in the African-American community, older African-Americans, is going to go. We don't know that yet. So we don't want to, just completely say he's done and it's all over. But, I think it would be easy to spin a narrative that this whole impeachment thing and his association with it really hurt him. I don't actually think that that's the case. I think in a way that the impeachment narrative was elevating for him and that it pitted him against Donald Trump. That's certainly the way that he tried to spin it.
But I do, in that Times story that I talk about on my radar, they actually said that one of the reasons that he came off looking terrible was the Hunter Biden. He never had a good answer.
That is true.
And that was the thing. He never had a good answer on the debate stage. Always got angry, mean, the look fat moment.
Seemed defensive.
There was a lot of, and that I think undermines confidence in people's vote. Not the Biden thing itself. It was the handling of it, the mere fact that he refused to admit any wrong whatsoever. That was what the issue was for him.
Yeah, I do think that's fair. And look, I think also having been inside that world a little bit in 2015 when he was considering running, I saw the way, I don't know that his staff really felt like they could push him on those issues, right? There was a little bit of a protective bubble around him so that I don't know that they really had him prepared to handle those answers or be able to deal with it appropriately on the trail.
Yeah.
Obviously, consequences are playing out right now. We'll have more Rising for you after this.